What's up, everyone? Aaron Nagler here, PackersNews.com, live on Facebook, mid-afternoon on Thursday. I'm a bit early today because I got a low network connection. What does that mean? I'm a little bit early today because I'm going to be jumping online to go see Star Wars later. So I thought I'd jump online here and talk to you fine folks about the Green Bay Packers. What's on your mind when it comes to the green and gold, and any thoughts, concerns, questions you might have. Connor says, Mark Murphy is my CEO. He is the president and CEO of the Green Bay Packers. If you haven't noticed, there is a bit up on PackersNews.com, highlights some quotes from Murphy at the owners' meetings. He talked to Sports Illustrated while he was down there in regards to the anthem ruling that the NFL put out yesterday. What's the news on Lewis? There is no news, updated news on Mercedes Lewis. We know he's having a visit in Green Bay. We don't know if it's happened yet, but it is going to happen this week. And that's all the news that's fit to print. Mike, hi, how are you? Denmark. I'll try to get on a little earlier. I generally try, most days I try to wait until the end of the day, simply because the NFL news cycle really starts churning around 4:30 Eastern, is when things really start to happen. So that's usually, I try to wait till after that period of time. But I understand for our viewers all over the world that timing doesn't always mesh very well with your daily life. Are we looking at tight end sets similar to the Chimura days? That's a good question, Rick. Obviously that 96 team used two tight ends extensively. I don't know if we'll ever see that under Mike McCarthy. They keep talking about two tight end sets. They talked a lot about it last offseason. And they do use it a bit, but it's never been as liberal as when Mike Holmgren was in charge. Lewis, please, let's get the running game going. He would be an excellent addition for the running game. There's no doubt about that. And I don't think you can discount his ability in the passing game. I've been watching him pretty much yesterday and today, cut-ups, and I tell you what, he still offers something down the field. He's still got a pair of hands on him. He can still box people out in the red zone. I think he would be a legit addition. It would really help solidify the offense. Poncho, news about Dez? There is no news about Dez. That's all the latest news on Dez Bryant. When is the next OTAs open to the public? That'll be next week. I can't remember the exact date, but there's one next week and then the one week following that. Hello from Buffalo. What's up, Justin? Who was a better left tackle, Clifton or Bakhtiari? Whew, that's a good question. I'd actually say I think Bakhtiari is a better technician, but I think Clifton's probably a better overall tackle. Michael Kendricks, Kyle, no word on if the Packers are interested at all. I haven't seen anything on any interest on him actually around the league, but that doesn't mean they won't be. But right now it's all quiet on that front. I do think he would help them, but I'd be surprised if they made a move there. Anybody asking about Olivia Munn's comments in the New York Post? They've come to the wrong place. I have very little interest in talking about the personal lives of anybody who plays or works for the Green Bay Packers. Is it just me, or does Clay seem upset? Kyle, that's a good question. I don't know if he seems upset. I think his quotes about the lack of depth at outside linebacker were much more kind of matter of fact. At least that's how I read it. Maybe a bit of frustration coming out. I think that's fair to say. But I wouldn't go so far as to say he's upset about it. It's just he knows it's going to be on him and Nick Perry again. I think that's more than anything what I took away from his statements. Any insight from the defensive players as to how things are under Pettin yet? To a man, for what I've heard, is most guys are saying, it's still early, it's still install time. They're literally, third day of putting these things on their feet. Or fourth day, it's Thursday. Good Lord, time flies. But, they're still just transferring work from the classroom onto the football field. There's not too much going on as far as, there's doing 7-on-7 work and there's doing drill work, etc. But, guys say it's all business. So I'm sure things will ratchet up in intensity as the summer goes on, especially when training camp arrives and the pads go on. Hello from La Crosse. What's up? home of the Ravens scout that we can't have. That's right. I don't know if some of you may have seen my former colleague Bob McGinn reported that Brian Gutekunst reached out and tried to hire a scout from the Ravens, whose name is escaping me at the moment, who he had gone to high school with, actually. And the Ravens denied the request. He had tried to hire an assistant GM. So I would look for that move to happen next year. Any chance we sign Raji or Mandrich? Yes, in your Madden League. Devontae Adams, a top 3 route runner? I don't know about ranking, but he's certainly up there, especially off the line of scrimmage. That guy is so explosive. He sets defensive backs up as well as anyone in the league. There's no doubt about that. Richard, I just spoke about Clay's comments about the pass rush. When I'm done with the video, you're more than welcome to go back and take a look. Short version is he's a little frustrated, I'm sure, but more matter of fact than anything else. Can any of our draft pick receivers play the slot? Good question, Kyle. I think they will be cross-trained to do so. I do wonder if any of them will excel there. I think they'll be given ample opportunities to show what they can do in the slot. There's no doubt about that. What does OTA stand for? Organized Team Activities. Fun brought to you by the Collective Bargaining Agreement. Think we sign Lewis, Christopher? I'm very intrigued to see. I was talking on the radio this morning about how this is the exact type of move that the Packers, the guys under Thompson, used to bring to him back in the day that would frustrate them because they would come in, guy would work out, they would push to have him signed, and then Thompson would pass. I'm very interested to see if Gutekunst pulls the trigger here. As for handicapping the odds, I have no idea. Oh, Don, very nice of you to say. 49ers have hooked up with Leeds United team. Nice. Trevor Davis emergence? We'll have to see. It's all about what he does with the opportunities presented to him. Rip or Carriage going forward, in your opinion? I really think Carriage has a shot to unseat him. I've said many times here, I thought he was playing very well. I thought he was outplaying Aaron Ripkowski last summer prior to his injury. So if he picks up where he left off, he's got a chance. But you never know the guy coming back after an injury. I love all the Raji questions. It wouldn't be a Facebook Live without him. Andy, that is where you're incorrect. Solo is going to be fantastic. You know why? Because there's no Jedi, and there's no Force, and there's no nonsense. It's just going to be a kick-ass adventure with Han and Chewie and Lando. That is premier Star Wars. The rest of it is material. It's going to be awesome. It's going to kick butt. I'm going to see it 100 times. I can't wait. When do the pads come on? They will come on the 3rd day of training camp, which will be late July. The very last week of July. Josh Jackson is a corner, drafted to be a corner and not a safety. That is correct. How do you feel about our pass rush? Seems like we never really made any moves. Chadwick, Clay Matthews agrees with you. I am very intrigued to see what they have in Gilbert and Beagle. I think that's the duo they're probably banking on the most to take that quote-unquote next step. I think Gilbert showed a lot those 2 weeks he got to play at the end of last season. We don't really know what they have in Beagle because he missed so much time last offseason. With a full offseason under their belts and knowing the defense and getting an opportunity to show what they can do in camp, I think those are the 2 big question marks. If those 2 guys can step up, then you've got a 4-man rotation of Matthews, Perry, Gilbert, and Beagle, and then whatever Fackrell can give you. That has the makings of something decent, but that's a lot of hope and a lot of waiting on promise for Beagle and Gilbert. Beagle going to make a big jump this year? Jason, we'll see. I mean, it's so hard to tell with him and Adams, Montrevious Adams from last year, because they missed so much time, especially Beagle, who essentially was injured that very first rookie practice, and then literally missed the rest of the offseason, including training camp. Never put pads on until 6 weeks into the season. So we don't really know what they have there. We saw him run around a lot last year once he finally did get on the field, but it's clear he had no time in the system prior to doing so. So new system, new coach, new opportunity. I'm very interested to see what they have there. Have any Packers players, coaches mentioned to you that they watch these videos? No players have, but I have had a coach, I've had a personnel person, and I've had a Packers executive all mention that they watch these videos. So always on my best behavior. Do you think Matthews comes back after this season? That's a great question. I think if he plays as he played last year, which is at a high level, although not incredibly productive pass rushing wise, I think they will make a move to try to, extend / sign him to a new contract. Now that it will have to be, the money will have to make sense for both the team and for Matthews, but I think they'll try to. Now, I also wouldn't be surprised if they let him play out the contract and say thanks for all you've done and let him, go on his merry way. So we'll see. For everyone asking, I know it's heightened interest because it's pretty much the one news point this week. There is no new news on Mercedes Lewis. All we know is that he is coming in for a visit. I don't know if that visit's happened yet. As soon as we know, you will know. Can you do a Dom Capers rant for old time's sake? That's phenomenal. No, but I thank you for asking. Where do you think Clay wants to play? The way he said they got no help on the outside made me feel, I think he just wants to be on the field. I do think he enjoys playing outside, but he's been reticent publicly in the past. The whole idea of moving inside, I think it helps him. I think it helps prolong his career. I think he affects the defense more in the middle. But I think he really just wants to. He just wants to play, and he doesn't care really where he does. That's the sense I get anyway from the few times I've spoken to him. But he's really the only one who can tell you that. Rodgers greater than LeBron. Okay, that's an interesting way of looking at it. Can the NFLPA push to change the fine for kneeling? Juan, not really. I know George Atala, the spokesperson for the PA, came out pretty strongly against it yesterday for obvious reasons. But they probably won't have their say, the PA that is, until 2021 when their next collective bargaining agreement is negotiated. And you can bet this will be on the list of things that are negotiated, which will add to an already lengthy talking point / negotiation points that will serve to fuel the fire of a very contentious back and forth. And you can bet if anyone remembers the last lockout, this one will be probably a lot worse. Paul, keep politics out of the NFL. I'd love to, man. President keeps talking about it, though. And the players keep expressing their constitutional right because they feel that their communities have been oppressed, so there's not much I can do about it. But you're welcome to turn it off whenever you want. But that will automatically keep it out of the NFL and football for you. How much influence do you think the president had on the decision? Well, Mark Murphy admitted that they were thinking about President Trump when they drew up the rule. Murphy's quote, you can see it on my Twitter timeline, you can see it at packersnews.com, was akin to something along the lines of he was going to be involved no matter what, either criticizing us for not doing anything or for taking credit for what we did, which I find interesting because it kind of admits that they are driven by fear. But it is only one aspect of the rule itself, and they're coming up with it. I encourage you to check packersnews.com for all of Murphy's quotes on the subject. Ha! Lee, I am nothing, man. I am a human being living in this great world of ours. Can we trade away Clay for Henry's ACL? That's out of the box thinking there, Eric. Well done. Rodgers, 45 TDs this season, over or under? Woo! Man, I'll go... I think he gets over 40, but under 45. How's that? Does that work? How good can this defensive line be? Christopher, it can be excellent. it can be upper echelon, one of the best in the league. With the rotation they have with Wilkerson involved, it's going to keep Mike Daniels fresh into the fourth quarter where he can really do some damage. I keep alluding to this moment in the Super Bowl, but you saw what having fresh legs along your defensive front can do for you when that game-changing play that caused the fumble against Brady and the Patriots as they were trying to drive there late in the game. That's what it's all about. You know, those five guys along the offensive line are pretty much there, down in and down out. If you can get a good rotation of those guys up front through four quarters, you can dominate. And the Packers have some real talent up front now. They'll be able to help dominate the game on the defensive side of the ball. Kyle, I asked that exact question on Twitter the other day. If Hackenberg gets a conditional seventh rounder from the Raiders to the Jets, what can Hundley get you? I contend that Hundley can get you a little bit more. I mean, it would stand to reason Hackenberg has never taken a single snap in the NFL, but he gets a conditional seventh round pick. Hundley, while not setting the world on fire as a starter, you have to think is worth at least a sixth round pick. So maybe the Packers turn him around this summer. You never know. Will Hundley be gone by the start of the season? It's a possibility. Well, it all depends on what happens with his battle with Deshaun Kaiser to back up Aaron Rodgers. What kind of beer is on draft at Lambeau? Rich, that's a good question. I don't know because I don't drink when I'm at work, so I wouldn't know. I haven't had beer at Lambeau in a long time. I've had many beers across the street from Lambeau, but not at Lambeau. How many cornerbacks can we keep? Ooh, good question. Let's go down the list, right? Tremont, Kevin King, Josh Jackson, Jair Alexander. And then you get into Devon House. That's 5, right? And then you got Quentin Rollins, that's 6. Goodson, that's 7. Pipkins, that's 8. Those are probably the real contenders, right? So of those 8, I would say probably 5 or 6. We'll see. It depends on how they play. But I would think guys like Goodson and Devon House and Rollins will probably be battling. I think Pipkins, he's shown that he belongs. He's just got to make the most of his opportunities because I don't think there are going to be a lot of them, at least early on. I think House is going to have to really fight. He's really inconsistent. I think they brought him back, obviously, because he's a veteran. They know what he can do. But if the young guys flourish as they expect them to, it's going to be hard to justify keeping him around. With Tremont, Kevin King, Josh Jackson, Jair Alexander, that's a pretty good nucleus if the young guys play to their capabilities and their projections. But we don't know. Herb Waters, Matt, yeah, he'll be in the mix, definitely. I mean, we haven't really seen anything from him since the injury. So, I mean, he's a great unknown at this point. Any chance we keep Whitehead and Evans at backup safety? Kyle, yeah, I think so. I think Evans especially. Although, man, it's hard to dismiss Whitehead because they seriously love the guy. I mean, you talk to any of the coaches, they really like him, and you saw they brought him back. But I think Evans is the guy who kind of gets forgotten. People forget he was inconsistent at times last year, but his highs were pretty high, and he played well when given the chance. I thought anyway, and he had a really nice interception there, playing center field. I wouldn't discount them. I wouldn't dismiss them. Obviously, they're going to be in a battle with Kentrell Bryce and Josh Jones, etc. But yeah, they're far from finished. There's no doubt about that. Better fullback, William Henderson or John Kuhn? Oh, that's William Henderson. Come on. John Kuhn was great, but Henderson was the man. Will the safeties play closer to the line of scrimmage in Pettine's scheme? Good question, Felipe. I would tend to think it'll be a bit more opponent dependent. It'll matter a lot what kind of offense they're facing. But if if they're facing somebody with an incredible deep strike, as a real ability to get over the top, obviously I think you're going to see Hawk and Dix playing a little more center field. But if they're playing a vertically challenged offense, I think you'll see guys dropping down a little bit more. you think we put Jackson at safety too? No, I know there's been a lot of talk about that, and I think it was Peter Bukowski who helped fan those flames over at Acme Packing Company. I don't see it. Maybe they do, but I think he was drafted as a corner. He's going to play corner. That's what they've said. So maybe they get in onto the field in camp and they want to take a look, but I tend to think they're gonna keep him at corner. Are concussions a concern for me? No, because I don't play. Are they a concern as far as watching these guys play? You know, it's a long, complicated history watching the NFL and watching the NFL's handling of concussions and head trauma. But, you know, there was definitely a time where, you know, when the Elliot Pellmans of the world were in charge of the NFL's concussion policy, where it was a real kind of moral quagmire. But at this point, anybody who steps on a football field, especially an NFL field, is fully aware of what they're getting into and what they're signing up for. That doesn't abdicate the NFL's responsibility to take care of these guys. I think they absolutely have that. And this thing that the concussion settlement players are going through is an absolute farce and a travesty. But both sides, don't get this twisted. Both the NFL and the PA are to blame for this. The fact that they went through this horrible labor war to come up with this new collective bargaining agreement and basically paid lip service to the guys who had built the game, who have built, they're standing on the shoulders of these men who built this thing that is now a $14 billion a year enterprise. And they give them a pittance and basically deny their claims and deny until they die. I talk to some old Packers when I'm back in Wisconsin, guys who can't walk, guys who can, live from pension check to pension check. And it's tough times, man. And the NFL has done them wrong. But any player stepping on the field these days, they know exactly what they're doing. They know exactly the chances that they're taking, the long-term ramifications. So, it's hard for me to say I sit here and, I really struggle with it, because I don't. Maybe that makes me cold, maybe it makes me horrible, but I think the NFL needs to take care of them. But I don't think it's any mystery of what's going on with NFL football anymore. Is Rodgers sold on the wide receiver youth movement? Good question, Walter, especially considering his response to the Des Bryant question the other day. The thing that no one talks about from that answer was the first attempt at that question by Rob. Rodgers said, we talked about this. I'm paid to play quarterback. I don't make those decisions. But then, follow up and got his true thoughts on it. And I think that's a little bit of his frustration coming out. They do skew young often. But heck, this isn't his first rodeo. He knows that's the name of the game, especially if he wants to be the highest paid player in the history of the league. You're going to have to go cheap places, including at wide receivers. So you got to go young. Look, Aaron Rodgers came within a breadth of upsetting the Cardinals at home in one of the most amazing playoff games ever when he was throwing to Jeff Janis and Jared Abbrederis for 3/4 of the game. The guy can make it happen with pretty much anybody on the field. Now, obviously, you want to help him. You want to get him the talent around him to succeed. But young wide receivers, he's going to have to deal with it. That's the way they're always going to operate, especially when they're paying a $30 million a year plus quarterback. Which team Green Bay will face in the NFC Championship game? Felipe, can we watch them play the Bears first in week 1? Nancy from the nails, checking in from the nail salon. What's up, Nancy? Thanks for joining us. Janis and Trevor Davis, who is a better wide receiver? Whew, what a question. I'll probably go Janis. I think Davis has been, I won't say a disappointment, but he has not shown much from scrimmage. He's shown flashes, don't get me wrong, but I think I would probably go Janis, but who knows. Is Lacey done in the NFL? Good chance, Peter. Would Hundley chewed gum fill in admirably at right tackle? Doubt it, Ron. Jeff, hi from Kansas City. What's up? I'll be at the Rams-Packers game. Can I buy you a baker's dozen of beers? I'll be working, but If you see me, I'm often out and about around the Lambeau Field parking lots doing social stuff, so say hi. Northern Michigan checking in. What's up? Does Murphy have the leg up at right tackle? Good question, Kyle. I would tend to think so. I think he played better than Spriggs did prior to his injury. I think they'll let them battle it out because, as we've mentioned and talked about here often, I doubt Brian Bulaga is ready for week 1. But who knows? Maybe they're not done looking. Maybe they look to make a trade. Maybe someone shakes free salary cap move. Someone gets cut from another team. Who knows? There's a long way to go between now and the start of camp. So, as they'll tell you, they're always looking. All right, everybody, I'm going to have to jump, but thank you so much for all the questions. I'm sorry if I couldn't get to yours. It's amazing how many people are here in the middle of the day. Shouldn't you people be working? Except for Nancy at the nail salon, of course. Thanks a lot, everyone. Make sure you're checking PackersNews.com for all the latest. I usually say barring any breaking news, I'll be on tomorrow. But, if news breaks while I'm in solo, I'm sorry. I can't go live. But in the meantime, make sure you're checking PackersNews.com for all the latest. And I will talk to you all tomorrow. Have a good day.